Hey guys, it's Kevin answering for Finding Carter, Season 2, Episode 7, Something to Talk About. And I really don't have too much to say about this episode, to be completely honest. I really don't. I thought this was a good episode, but there were quite a few things that I didn't like about this episode. Now, let me just get this straight. This was not Episode 4 territory. Episode 4 is basically as bad as the show can get. I don't think the show can go as bad as Episode 4 did. I think Episode 4 was just a mishap, and this episode was definitely not as bad as that. It just wasn't very interesting, I have to say. There were things that happened in this episode that could have been a lot more interesting than they were, I have to say. The one thing that definitely got me down with this episode, I definitely do want to talk about, is, let's talk about what happened in the last episode with Crash, of course, because Crash, of course, left Carter, and, basically, he left Carter for probably the best reason. He probably did the best thing in leaving Carter. At no point in this episode does his name even come up, and I don't like that they're just pretending that he didn't exist. Yes, Crash didn't really need to be in this season. That doesn't mean we need to pretend he doesn't exist. I mean, Carter, we should have seen at least a scene of Carter feeling something about Crash. Like, at least, maybe, sending him a letter or calling him or something. Something, like, keeping in touch with him. I would have wanted to see more of that, because she was heartbroken over it in the last episode, and that doesn't even come up here. Granted, I can understand why they did that, because they know that people don't really like Crash, but I've honestly really liked his character this season. I would have wanted to see more with that, because I thought they did a really good job handling him leaving the show. I thought that was really good. If I did, I will say this was probably my second least favorite episode of the season. It wasn't a bad episode by any means, but I just didn't think it was that good. Taylor's storyline, I would have liked a lot more had it not focused on just don't do drugs. It really seemed very cliche. Because in the beginning of this episode, Taylor and Carter, they're in a car. Basically, by the way, I'm not going to talk about this episode very much because I really don't have that much to say. Plus, it's like over a week old, so I really don't have much to say about this episode. I'll definitely say a lot more about this week's, which I heard was amazing. But they're in a car crash at the beginning of the episode, and I was just like, you know what, that's kind of stupid. I mean, her being worried about the drugs and everything I thought was really dumb. And I would have enjoyed this a lot more if it wasn't just don't do drugs. I thought it was cool that Carter was trying to get her happy and make her, get her back to her happy place. But I just don't really like the way they handle this. I would have liked it a lot more if this would have been Taylor acting out because she was being ignored. That's what I thought we were going to find out. This whole thing with the drugs, it just didn't really make sense or work out to me. Taylor does not seem like the kind of person that would do that. And I understand, she's acting out, but if she would have just, if they would have done something where Taylor was acting out because she wanted attention, I could understand that. Not drugs. It just didn't really seem like Taylor, and I didn't really like that this episode was trying to do that, I have to say. It honestly at times felt like an after-school special. It really did. And it wasn't bad. It just felt at times like an after-school special. There are so many scenes of just Carter telling Taylor how bad her drug problem is. How many scenes can we get of Taylor and Max talking? Now, I will admit, I like seeing Taylor and Max talking. I think it's well done that we're seeing that. I will say, though, that Max does not need to, even though Taylor, is mad at Max right now for him talking to her, her points, I do get some of her points of what she's saying, he needs to talk to her more, she shared everything with him, he needs to be more honest with her. I do understand that, but here's the thing, he doesn't need to tell you everything about his life, it really is his opinion, it really is his choice on what he wants to tell you, so I like that they are still getting close, and I like that Max genuinely cared for Taylor. I definitely like seeing that, because I still really do want those two back together. I really do want those two back together at the end of the season, and I thought it was really good what they did with them. And I do have to say that I like the way they did end it overall. Elizabeth grounding them, yeah, I can understand why she did that. I thought it was kind of dumb that happened. I'm like, whatever, I really don't care. I really don't care that they were grounded, honestly, I don't. Because I like the way the episode ended, with Carter being there for Taylor, and I like the conversation they really had about Lori. Had this episode focused more on that, I would have actually enjoyed it more. If it would have focused more on Taylor not wanting anything to do with Lori, I think that would have been a lot more well done. I mean, there wasn't really any reason why Taylor started acting out. They didn't really give us a reason. We did kind of get the reason of she didn't really like Lori. But if that's true, then we should have seen more of this and less of just don't do drugs. I thought that was really stupid overall. I really did like the end where Carter and Taylor danced, to, basically get Taylor happy again. It was a cute scene. I enjoyed overall, and I definitely really did enjoy that. And their chemistry is so great, I have to say. They definitely still have great chemistry, the two actresses. They still work very well together, and I definitely really enjoyed that. I thought that their stuff was really good. So, Taylor's plot, kind of mediocre. I didn't hate it. I like the party. I thought that was kind of fun what Carter was trying to do for her. It just got really preachy, I have to say. I just felt like it got way too, don't do drugs, and way too much like an after-school special, and less like a good storyline finding Carter. It's not bad, it's just I don't feel like this is something that they should have done with Taylor's character, because I really do like her character, honestly. I like her character when she's not like this, honestly. What they did with her, I don't like it. I don't like it. I think it was dumb. It honestly was kind of pointless what they did, because now she's going to go back to her old self, which is great, because I like Taylor that way. I like seeing the fun, sort of rebellious, but basically just normal teenager Taylor that just did a lot of fun. That's the Taylor that I like watching. The Taylor we got in Season 1. This, I don't really like they introduced it. A lot of people don't like Taylor's character, but hopefully after this episode, she will get better. I just didn't really think that it worked for her character. If they would have done this with anyone, it should have been Carter. Carter, I feel like, definitely would have done this more than Taylor would have. I think Carter would definitely have been the one to do this, but Taylor doing this, I really didn't see it working for Taylor. I really didn't. Especially since the show, it had all those, had the whole thing with Ophi and the drugs last season, and kind of just played as a fun thing. This took it a lot more seriously, and I don't really like that they took it as seriously, because it's like, well, you're having fun with it, and yet you're going to take it too seriously. It just seemed kind of silly, and I didn't really like it. What I really liked in this episode was what they did with Grant. I thought Grant's plot was really solid in this episode, especially because I've been complaining about his character. Ever since episode 5, he's been getting really good stuff, and I think this episode, he definitely had his best plot yet, I have to say. What I liked about this episode definitely was that he wasn't annoying either. I can totally understand why he's upset at what he's upset about. Because basically, he's really upset about Elizabeth for not telling him that Kyle is back in her life. And I can understand that. I mean, it really is hard for him. He wants, of course, his parents to be together. I can totally understand. I think it was really well done the way they handled this episode. Because he's really not connecting very well with Kyle. Even though he doesn't, even though he understands that Elizabeth and David had to make this arrangement, he doesn't really like it. He doesn't really think it's working. And we find out that all this time, they find out that he has been going to a shriek, basically getting therapy from Joan, and Joan talks to Elizabeth and tells her that she doesn't think this is a good idea, and I like seeing Joan say that, because honestly, no, it's not really the best idea what Elizabeth is doing, sneaking around with Kyle. It's probably not the best thing that she's doing, and I like that Joan talked about it. I thought that was really well done, I have to say. So, it seems like Grant's about to make amends with Kyle. He does put his phone in the dishwasher, which I thought was kind of funny. And also the scene where he's like, he deleted The Walking Dead off the DVR. The Walking Dead, Mom. And I thought that was hilarious when we saw that. I will say there definitely were some funny moments in this episode. But eventually, it seems like he's going to make amends with Kyle. But then he finds out that Elizabeth's been sleeping over at Kyle's house. And this is when he's really upset. And I can understand why Grant's upset, because obviously he wants his parents together. While he doesn't really trust David right now, he wants his parents back together, definitely, because this is a show, of course, about a fractured family, and he wants them back together. I can totally understand that. So it really gets to the point where he really can't deal with it anymore, so he is possibly going to get emancipated and moving in with Joan and Bud, which I can honestly see happening. I think it's well done. I like that they're doing that. I didn't find it stupid. I honestly find that to be a really good storyline, because this happens to a lot of people. I mean, they go from house to house, and some people get really tired of that. And it's not that Grant's going from house to house. I mean, Elizabeth and David, yeah, they are still living together, but they practically are, not even together, because they have other dates and other people in the house, and it's just really complicated. I do really like Elizabeth and David right now. I like the way that they're treating them. I like that they're genuinely friends. I really like that, I do have to say. I like that they're not at each other's throats constantly. And I think it's a good idea with what they did. Do I think this is going to last for the rest of the season? No. I think eventually they are going to get back together and they are going to make amends, because this is a show about repairing damage and things like that. But something like this, I think that I really do like that they are friends right now. I think they're handling it well, and I definitely really did enjoy that. So I really like that plot. I thought that was a really great plot. Definitely the best plot of the episode, especially when you compare it to Gabe's plot, which I don't even want to talk about this for this long. I'm going to say this. I understand Gabe, we wanted to give him something to do. Are you fucking kidding me, though? This was so stupid. There's no way I'm gonna take this seriously. when we saw Gabe flirting with Abby, I thought it was funny. I did, because that happens. You know, students get crushes on teachers. I can totally understand that. But, like, why are we turning this into, like, a teacher-student relationship? It was stupid. I didn't care about it. I really like Bird in the episode, though. I like what Bird said to Gabe. I thought honestly, that was my favorite thing about this plot, was what Bird said to Gabe when she said to him, what would you do if I, you know, snuck around with a guy that was a teen, you know, what if it was reversal, that it was me and Abby was a guy? I thought that was really well done, especially because we've seen Bird, like, a lot, very rebellious. I kind of like seeing this toned down version of Bird, not being as rebellious and not really being a slut like we've seen her before, which I'm not going to say Bird's a slut, but she definitely does, it definitely is very flirty, and I kind of like seeing her being a little bit toned down and showing that she does have boundaries. She definitely does have limits, because there are points where you don't really think Bird does have limits, but here we see, yeah, she does kind of have limits. She does have limits. She doesn't want Gabe to obviously get himself in trouble, but here's the thing, Gabe knows the risks and he really doesn't care. He knows what he's doing is wrong. He really doesn't care, and in the end, it's pretty inevitable what's going to happen. I mean, I can totally understand what was going to happen here. So basically, what ends up happening is that Gabe and Abby, they do end up sneaking around, but Abby gets in big trouble because she has a husband, she has a fiance, and she sees her text with Gabe, and basically her fiance thought that it was just, you know, her having an affair, which he was okay with, but then he realized it was a student, and he called the cops on her. And basically, she is now arrested, and basically Abby insists that she's innocent, but, you know, they don't know who the student is, and they can't press charges. But unfortunately, Kyle's on the case that he seems to suspect that Gabe is the student that Abby had her affair with, which, of course, Kyle does not know. That part I find really interesting. That, I think, is really good, and I definitely really do enjoy that. I like that we are giving Gabe more stuff to do, but the only thing I really cared about was that. I thought that was really well done, because this is going to change Kyle and Gabe's relationship. I think it's really interesting, especially if Kyle finds out that Gabe did what he did. That could be really interesting. I'm interested in seeing if they actually do something like that, because I think that's honestly a very interesting plot point. I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there. So overall, guys, it's really all I have to say about the episode. Honestly, I really don't have much to say about this episode. I wish I did, but I really don't. Honestly, that's really all I have to say. Overall, a very mediocre episode. I loved Grant's plot. Taylor's plot was okay. Gabe's plot was really bad until the Kyle thing came in. It was nowhere near as bad as episode 4. I just didn't really like it as much as the past 2 episodes. I would have liked it more if they talked more about Crash and things like that. I liked the mention of Lori. I thought that was really good. But definitely what this week's episode was, that's more what I wanted the show to be, which I already know what the plot is. I'm really looking forward to watching the next episode. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know this was a shorter review than usual. But again, guys, I really don't have much to say about it. Do you really expect me to say a lot about an episode that's like a week old? I'm not going to say much about it. So I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for this week's episode of Finding Carter, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.